Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guests and I play a little movie roulette and randomly select a film from my enormous 8,500 plus movie watch list that literally could be anything. And certainly pick something this time around. And joining me, my guest, Jeremy Bryant. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
And Jeremy, this is your first time on the show, and we certainly had a interesting film for us to discuss here, which is Altered States from 1980. Psycho physiologist experiments with drugs and sensory deprivation tank, and his visions he believes are genetic memories. And that is a lot of words to not describe how crazy and wild this movie is. But we'll certainly get into
Amen.
that for sure.
You freaking men on
Um,
that.
yeah. Which I think one of the most interesting things is this was released on Christmas Day, 1980. So what a Christmas movie this was. This runs 103 minutes. Budgeted was $15 million. It only made $19.9 million. It was not a financial success, which I'm not surprised. I don't think this really is a mainstream sell at the box office. And this is directed by Ken Russell, who previously has had quite the interesting filmography, including The Devils, which is a film that has been notoriously like banned places and is very hard to see. It's also very hard to watch when you actually get hands on it, from knowing from experience. This was written by Patty Chayefsky, who obviously a very famous writer and playwright and screenwriter. And this film was starring William Hurt in his first film role, Blair Brown, Bob Balaban, and Charles Hayde, based on a John C. Lilly's sensory deprivation research. So this is based in some kind of scientific research. Taevsky left the project because he had some serious conflicts with Russell. This is also Drew Barrymore's first film, as she pops up as one of the little daughters of William Hurt's character. This was actually nominated for two Academy Awards, including Best Score and Sound, which I could definitely understand that. Those are two very engaging and interesting pieces here. This originated as a Jekyll and Hyde story that was discussed by Chayefsky, Bob Fosse, and Herb Gardner over dinner. So, what a wild dinner conversation they had. And Chayefsky wrote the screenplay that was actually first published into a novel in 1978 before they actually made the film. And Chayefsky was given full creative control over the film. And there was a computer assisted rotoscope system used for the final transformation that you see in the film. Arthur Penn left as director after some serious creative conflicts with Chayefsky, and Russell believed Chayefsky was overbearing and trying to control his vision, which Penn Russell has a very specific vision, and I am sure was in serious conflict with Chayefsky over the course of trying to interpret this story. But Jeremy, what were your general thoughts on Altered States?
Well, I went into it with that brief description you gave earlier, not knowing what to expect. I thought it was going to be, I had a predestined image in my mind, kind of a boring science movie in a way, but
Mhm.
I was very, very wrong. As well, as a paranormal podcaster and paranormal lover, this was actually right up my alley, and I've talked on my show with experts about the effects of hallucinogenics and what they can do to
Mhm.
the mind. And the idea that you could possibly launch back into your primeval state by taking hallucinogenics is not unheard of. It's actually a theory. It's a theory. I mean, it has, as far as we know, it hasn't been proven, but who knows? There's not. Who knows if there's a monkey man running around somewhere in New York City? But
There
it
you
would
go.
fit right in. But I mean, I rather enjoyed the movie. I mean, William Hurt, I'm not the biggest fan of. I've been trying to think all night of what else he's in, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. And Bob Bavalan, I know him from a lot of things, and he's always been a good actor too. So I mean, with those two actors, I was expecting a decent movie to begin with, but it was right. It was I quite enjoyed it. I mean, it kind of was right my conspiracy paranormal mindset, and I thought they did the story very well. It starts off kind of slow, but once you get into the idea of what the movie actually is, and he goes to the ancient Mexican Indians,
Yeah.
and basically from there on, it just is a thrill ride. I literally, as a smoker, I literally didn't pause it once. Well, due to the lack of time, but I didn't pause it once to go out for a cigarette even. And I could have been 5 minutes late to the show and smoked a cigarette in between at some point, but I didn't want to. It was just I wanted to finish it. I wanted to see how it ended, and it was mind blowing. Really, it really was. It's genius story writing. It's genius screenplay, and it's I think it for not hearing of it for 36 years of my life, I just think it's one of those movies that people haven't heard of that they
Yeah.
need to hear of.
I'm pretty sure like the only reason this wound up on my watch list was because it had been an Oscar nominated film, which I did throw like literally every single film ever nominated for an Oscar on this obscenely large watch list. And this is like the antithesis of what you would expect a quote unquote Oscar nominated film to be. And obviously it got nominated for technical aspects, which it delivered. The sound design in this is quite interesting and dynamic. That score, I thought it was going to be like a Jerry Goldsmith or something like that. It was so like big and bold and eerie. And for sure, from the very beginning, it definitely seems like more of like this dry kind of science film between
Yeah,
like the interactions between Hurt and Balaban. And then you have those first set of visions that William
yeah,
Hurt has, which for the longest time, I have seen this very specific shot of this goat faced being on a crucifix with like 10 eyes. And I'm like, I've seen that shot before, and now I know where it's from. It's specifically from this movie when he's having these weird, unnerving kind of religious infused kinds of hallucinations and visions in this tank that he's in. William Hurt, I think, was the king of being extremely egotistical and kind of a douchebag expert in his field in movies. And it's feel like this, and I recently watched Children of Lesser God, where he's trying to teach young
yep.
deaf teenagers how to speak and also broadcast news. I just feel like he really understood how to be both charismatic and a complete asshole and think that he's like God's gift to creation. Like just him talking about his marriage in that one scene with Bob Balaban, it's just like,
Oh
wow,
yeah, when he talks about the idea of divorce, and he's he's literally like, oh, I mean, she's worried about the pain. She'd rather live with the pain that we have now as a couple than live with the pain she'll experience as a single person. I'm okay with that pain. I'll manage it. I'm like, wow, what a douche. Like, I mean,
well, well,
who thinks of it that way?
and what's crazy is the film goes from like they connect, they meet, and then it jumps like 10 years in the future. Like we skip the whole entire marriage and them
With
having kids.
literally
Yeah,
with no 10 year later like thing on the screen either
yeah,
or anything like that. You're like all of a sudden they have kids, and I'm like, what the heck just happened here? Did I fall asleep for 5 minutes or something? Like, what happened? And it's funny because I saw Drew Barrymore's name on the Amazon X-ray, and I'm like,
yeah,
ooh, I'm like, where's Drew Barrymore in this? And I'm like, I'm trying to think of the year, and I'm like 80. I'm like, all right, yeah, she's got to be a kid. She's got to be one of the
yep.
kids. I mean, this is before Firestar. This is before all those movies where she was a kid.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it was interesting, and it almost started off as like a Woody Allen type movie. Like that's what I thought it was at first, like a Woody Allen type movie taking place in New York City, like very everybody's meeting in the apartment, eating and
Mhm.
having a party and smoking weed. So I thought it was a Woody Allen movie, but
Definitely certainly has that vibe. But I think this film, as like in its horror elements, Like that, especially like you mentioned that scene where he goes off to Mexico, and just that whole entire sequence is so unnerving. The music, the visuals, the special effects that are going on just puts you into this place where you're just like, ooh, this is creepy, this is weird, this is like what's going on here. And
See, that's the
then
thing. I
yeah,
mean, at least in my mind, that's not unnerving. That's as soon as I heard that music start hitting up, I was like, and I'm like, all right, it's about ancient civilization.
yeah,
There's music. There's also this awesome build-up music. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be awesome. Like I already knew. I'm at that point. I'm like, this is gonna be an awesome scene. This is gonna be an awesome scene. This is right my alley for all the movies I love. So this is gonna be awesome.
absolutely. And this film delves into some very interesting kinds of like transformations because you do get this like caveman type change that William Hurt goes through. And there's some really shocking moments, like when he's in that tank for a really long time and Charles Hayes' character opens it up and he's just like bleeding. And there's some really decent body horror in this,
But
whether it's that or all the makeup that he has in his transition.
and that's the question though. Was it his blood or was it the blood of something he actually ate when he went into the past? I
Oh,
mean,
there you go.
there was some kind of time. There was some kind of like, I mean, they showed it at the end with that like foggy wormhole. Like there was like
Yep.
some time travel element to this as well, and it's kind of like you go into the past and you become the past type thing, and it's
Mm,
really it's mind blowing. It really is. I mean, like anybody who's into the paranormal or the supernatural, like this is right up the alley that you should be watching this. It's so unique. I've never seen a movie exactly like this or close to it, and
mm.
it's really unique. I mean, I almost wish they'd remake it to. I mean, I'm not even gonna say that because they remade it, they would do a horrible job and destroy it. But it's just, trust me, they would. But it's just not.
Yep.
It's interesting, and the whole scene of him transforming into a, well, not even a caveman, but transforming back before that even to our primordial self when we were still
Yeah.
a couple of scales back in the evolutionary chain.
Hmm.
And I mean, when he's going through the zoo, I'm not sure what zoo it was. I'm not sure if it was New York City, Bronx, like Central Park Zoo, Bronx Zoo, or if it was San Diego Zoo, whatever. But I mean, when he's interacting with all the animals, it's really
Yeah.
that scene is really interesting because it's like they actually did this exactly how like a primordial man would interact with all these animals, like trying to hit the freaking elephant on the head with the rock. It's like, what are you
Yeah.
thinking? Like, what are you thinking?
And it was like that interaction with the dog, and I'm like, don't you hurt this dog? And and like that confrontation, like on top of a car. And this film is so interesting because it's hard to predict exactly where it's going to go because, like, from the opening hallucinations and visions that he has, like, I'm half expecting this to go in like an event horizon. We're going to this like hellish demonic zone or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it turns more into like this strange pseudo time travel, like re- uh evolutionary kind of journey. And it's like I didn't quite know exactly where this was going to go, and I was thrilled that I didn't, and I
I
was
mean,
along for the ride.
I didn't know. Yeah, originally, when I first was watching the beginning, I'm like, all right, tell me this isn't gonna be boring like Interstellar or like what's the other famous space movie they did with the one with also Sprock Zarathustra playing in the beginning. I can't think of.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, I mean, tell me. I'm like, tell me it's not gonna be boring like those movies because I fell asleep watching those damn movies, and I'm like, tell me it's actually gonna be interesting, and it almost reminded me. The closest thing I can relate to almost is The Relic. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
I don't think so.
I think it's a '90s or early 2000s movie, The Relic. It's basically it's about the Natural History Museum in New York getting this relic in, and the relic basically comes alive, and
Interesting.
it's an ancient civilization thing too. I watched it when I was a teenager, and it's almost pseudo horror, but I mean.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing about this movie. This movie was almost a horror movie in certain elements, and I as a horror movie lover, I've enjoyed the heck out of it because of that. It was just like, why, like, why did I think this movie was gonna be anything something I wouldn't like? Like, it's just it goes to show you can't have these preconceived notions about movies you don't haven't watched yet because you might not know what you get. You're not gonna know what you're getting ahead of time. I mean, it's it was incredible. It really was an incredible freaking movie. And who played his wife again? I can't think of her name. Blair or
Uh,
something.
it was Blair
Brown.
Brown, I think it was.
Okay, I
Yeah.
was right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. She and not a bad body on her, honestly. I mean, a couple good nude scenes, folks, but not a bad body at all. I mean, they could have gone with a better looking woman, but would it have been as believable? No, because a scientist like that doesn't get no damn supermodel. So it's not bad. I mean, that scene when he's in the vision and like she's laying there in like the cave floor, like
Hmm.
full cleavage, like laying down. It was just a very beautiful scene. It was a beautiful scene, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like, she's a little better looking than I thought she was originally." Okay, that gives this movie props in my mind because out of all horror movies, you got to have some good news scenes. Come on, otherwise it's not like a horror movie. But
There you go.
it's just,
I also really bought into that the emotional crux of the film too, which on some level it's like I really wish that she wouldn't care so much about this guy because obviously he did not care that much about her after being married to her for like however long. But you really feel that emotion in as this film gets into its climax, and it gives you that like added last jolt with that, like I mentioned, like that rotoscoped sequence where they're like turning into otherworldly dimensional kinds of beings.
yeah,
Um,
the ending of it is pretty trippy. I mean, it's funny. I was holding my 2-month old in my lap at that point, and she was like smiling like at the different like creatures and what's happening, and I'm like, this doesn't freak you out. I'm like, you actually like this? And I'm like, okay, this. I'm kind of doing my own side of experiment here because they say babies are closer to the primordial mindset than they are once they hit the past age of 2 or 3. So I'm like, maybe she's seen something she's seen before. I'm like, this is all right. I'm like, this is a science experiment all of its own right here, and I like it. So I'm down for this. But I mean, it's trippy, but you're right. He is William Hurt plays a dick. Like the fact when they leave the party and he just straight out says to her, "I'd like to go back to your place whenever you're ready," and it's just like, who says that to a girl? Like who says that? Who just comes out and says that to a girl? Like,
a
oh well, let's
cocky
let's go back to.
bastard.
And then like she even tries to deflect by saying, "Oh, I have a roommate, but there's the couch," and he's like, "Couch will do." It's just like what? Who says these type of things to women?
Just, I think William Hurt just absolutely nailed this character because he brings the arrogance, he brings the intensity of needing to discover something. And I like obviously I knew who William Hurt and Bob Balaban were, but Charles Hayde actually stood out to me a lot in this film because he's very much the counter reaction to William Hurt's character, and he's the one that like burns the bloody cloth and is just like, I'm not going to go into like this crazy heresy of these crazy ideas that you have. And I think he's an interesting presence to be in conflict with.
Yeah, I like he had some very good acting in this movie, and the scene where he's literally screaming at William Hurt's character in the hallway, like that was intense. Like you felt
Yeah.
those emotions, and it was he's getting all red faced and everything too. It's just like it's perfect. Like it's literally perfect. It's just like he's so scared of what these experiments are going to do to William Hurt, and I mean, I think he was just more worried about his reputation than anything, but
Yep.
it's just it's it was I'm like they better not stop it because of this dick. They better not. Like I want to see what happens with this. I really
Yep.
want to see how these lab experiments end up happening. Like it's just gonna have interesting results. I have a feeling, and I was not disappointed. Like when he actually came out full primordial monkey man, it was just exactly what I was waiting for, and I was like, yes, thank you. Don't I thought that at the end they were gonna have like one monkey paw come out and that'd be like how they end the movie. And I thought that was gonna be like, oh, come on now, don't do
No,
that to
this
me.
goes there.
No, it
If
goes there. It takes you home and gives you dessert. I mean, come on, it's a good.
yeah,
It was a great movie. I'm honestly so happy I watched this movie.
this turned out to be a really unexpected kind of film that really puts you on the edge of your seat. But, having a visionary and bold director like Ken Russell, and then having somebody but like Patty Chayefsky writing this, there's a lot of potential there, and they certainly delivered a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that name on screen, Patty Chayefsky, and I'm like, I don't even know that name. Like, and never, I mean, I usually don't look. I am a huge movie buff, but I don't usually look at who writes them unless it's like a
Mhm.
newer person and like since I've been alive. I mean, you give me I can't even think of a good name at this point, but you give me God, I mean, you give me like the Coen brothers or like
Mhm.
the Russo brothers, and like I know those names, but I don't. Or of course, the famous ones. My God, I can't. I'm blanking. I don't know why I'm blanking on this stuff. It's
All good.
newborn brain. It's newborn brain. But yeah, I mean, it's just so much. The old school writers like that though from back in the '80s, I don't know by name. Like it's just not one of those things.
I know Chayefsky famously wrote Network, and that's probably his
Which
most
one?
famous film, Network, which is like about media and politics and stuff like that. And this
Never heard
is
of it.
certainly not the type of film that I expected out of him, but it's certainly delivered in a lot of ways. But I guess, Jeremy, do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to throw out there?
No, I mean, I'm honestly surprised it's William Hurt's first movie. It doesn't seem like it is. He doesn't seem like an amateur actor in this. So,
No, I think he had the stage acting going, but no, he immediately felt comfortable on camera and definitely gave that kind of vibe for sure. But yeah,
well,
so those were our thoughts on Altered States. So, but Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on and chatting some movies with me.
my pleasure.
And thank all of you out there for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What's your favorite sci-fi horror, very bold, different kind of film that you go to and would want to recommend? And make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPN Crew Podcasting Network has a lot of great shows. We're expanding. Obviously, looking for guests to come on to our different shows, whether we're talking about movies, music, television, and a whole bunch of other things. And also, if you like our logo, make sure to go check out HiFlyer Creative for any of your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, head on over and make sure to follow us. And thank you, as always, for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.